consistent with the 44 CFR code. And what that means, and part of this is going to be educating the public, because most people are not aware of what this means. In fact, I think some of us were probably not aware what this means. But what it does mean is that all work performed in a flood zone, and so for terminology, we have a flood plain and we have a floodway. Floodways would be known as the kind of the moving parts of the stream. Floodplain is where the water comes up, but it's not necessarily moving. Generally speaking, both of those combined, you would call it a flood zone. So what has been agreed to and what we have promised to do is that all work performed in a flood zone must be permitted. Well, we've never issued a permit as far as the county goes. Permits will be two-part. Part one is a foundation permit. Part two is a building permit. No government agency is exempt from permitting. That means even the highway department, if you all do work in a flood zone, you have to go through the permitting process, and we'll get to why that's important in a minute. All structures built in flood zones must have a floodplain elevation certificate, except agricultural buildings, which are exempt. The certificate verifies that structures are properly elevated above the flood risk level. Elevation standards. Zone AE has an established base flood elevation, and the finished floor must be at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation. Zone A has no established base flood elevation, and the finished floor must be 3 feet above the highest adjacent grade. Floodway work. A hydrology study must demonstrate a 0.00 feet of rise in base flood elevation, which effectively prohibits development in floodways. Floodplain work. A hydrology study must show less than 1 foot of rise to the base flood elevation. The county is required to maintain a board of floodplain review consisting of 3 members appointed by the county executive. The board hears and decides appeals or variance requests related to floodplain management decisions. Any person aggrieved by a decision of the floodplain administrator based in whole or in part of the provisions of the flood damage prevention resolution may file an appeal with the Board of Floodplain Review. Meetings of the board must be open to the public, and all actions, decisions, and records must be maintained as public records. The board has the authority to attach conditions to variance approvals to ensure that any relief granted is the minimum necessary and does not increase flood risk or conflict with NFIP regulations. So we're going to have a floodplain administrator, and I'll tell you all now that this whole thing sounds very complicated, and there's a lot to it, and this is true. The good news is that we don't have everyone out in the county trying to build in flood zones, which is a good thing. So until we figure out how big of an impact this is going to be, my staff is going to take care of the logistics with the paperwork part of it. Odell Pointer and myself will work out the inspections and the permitting process. So we are going to have to implement a permit tracking and documentation process. We need notification to all departments of enforcement obligations, review ongoing FEMA-funded projects for elevation and permitting compliance, conduct public and contractor outreach. I would add realtor to that to explain the new process and the requirements involved. Establish a board for floodplain review consisting of 3 members. We talked about that there is no government entities exempt from this, that permits must be issued in the owner's name only, that these would go to all departments, utility districts, common contractors, and engineers. Open the door to complaint compliant permits and records lock down the minimum of paperwork. The two-part permits, one is a foundation permit with the map, site plan with the grades, designate elevations, and any hydrology study that might be required. The second is part two, would be a building permit if they actually was or were to plan on putting a building in the flood zone of any sort. And I appreciate your patience with this, but I feel like this is important because something new where citizens are going to be required to come in and get permits to do work on their land, and we all know that is a very sensitive subject around here. The issue is that this is what we promised to do when we signed that resolution adopting this program. We committed to doing this, and we just haven't done it. And when they do their audits, and if they come in here and find us non-compliant, they can pull their federal funding. So it's an important deal. The short version of this is here's the deal. When we find, and that's another issue that we have, people do work all over the county, and we do not necessarily have methods to know when they're doing the work. So 911 will send notification if somebody asks for a new 911 address. That's easy. Meriwether Lewis will send us notification if someone pulls a new or a permit for new electrical service. So there's two methods that we have to determine if there's projects or construction going on. The other items, and we've seen them already, there's actually a couple of them that we know about where people start filling in floodplain or flood zone. We're required to go out and issue a stop work order until they perform the necessary items to ensure that they're in compliance with the NFIP regulations. Everyone that has flood plain or flood zone, let me rephrase that, if everyone that has flood zone on their property, if they're going to do work on the property, they will need to show that that work is not affecting the flood zone. Now, you know, if you have 100 acres and 3 acres of it is in the flood zone and you're not anywhere near it, it's as simple as, you know, an affidavit stating that you're not doing anything with the flood zone. But we have to prove that let's say it's a residence. We have to, as administrators, we have to prove that the structure they build is not going to be in the flood zone. Because if they come back and they don't put their structure where they think they want to put the structure, and it ends up in the flood zone, then we're out of compliance, and there's liability associated with that. So this is going to be part of the process. You all have copies of the stop work order. Put a copy of that in your packets. These actually this is a criminal offense. It's not a civil offense. So if someone is in violation and continues to be in violation, and this accrues on a daily basis. So there's actually teeth to this. Behind that, there's a development permit application. As you can see, some of the items on it is mining, grading, fill, storage of equipment, dredging, paving, excavation, building type, structure, drainage facilities. So development standards are base flood elevation, actual first floor elevation, and actual elevation certificate, engineering certification and supporting data, and flood proofing if required. The citation on this, on Tennessee Code Annotated, is the violation of regulations, modes of enforcement, and remedies. It is unlawful to erect, construct, reconstruct, alter, maintain, or use any building or structure, or to use any land in violation of any regulation in any provision of any ordinance or any amendment thereof enacted or adopted by any county legislative body under the authority of this part. The violation of this part is a Class C misdemeanor. Each and every day during which such illegal erection, construction, reconstruction, alteration, maintenance, or other use continues is deemed a separate offense. In case of any building or structure, it is proposed to be erected, constructed, reconstructed, altered, maintained, or used in any land, or is proposed to be used in violation of this part or any regulation or provision enacted or adopted by any county legislative body under the authority granted by this part, such county legislative body, the Attorney General and Reporter of the District Attorney General for the judicial district of which such violation occurs or is threatened, the county building commissioner or any adjacent or neighboring property owner who would be specifically damaged by such violation, in addition to other remedies provided by law, may institute injunction, abatement, or any other appropriate actions, proceedings to prevent, enjoin, or abate, or remove such unlawful erection, construction, reconstruction, alteration, maintenance, or use. So this county has committed to do this. For the record, I was not here at that time before you come after me with spears and pitchforks. I was not part of this, but some of you were. You agreed to it. So we're going to have to do it. And I will entertain questions if you have questions regarding that. I'll do my best to answer it. We just had a meeting with the state of Tennessee a couple weeks ago going through this, and we've not done anything to date because you all are the ones that are going to get the phone calls if we start talking about having to pull permits. And so we need everyone to be up to speed. So we will be giving you the information. We're going to be advertising in newspapers, on social media, and every venue that we can think of to get the word out that if you're going to do work in a flood zone or near a flood zone, you've got flood zone on your property, you need to come by and get a permit, which is another question. We don't have fees associated with the permits, but you know that it's going to cost money to do this. I mean, there's going to be an admin fee, cost money just to look at this, but you're talking about actual field visits where somebody's going to have to go out and verify the field locations. If they should ever decide to actually build in the floodplain like they have downtown Waverly, somebody's going to have to go through and make sure that their finished floor elevations are, 1 foot above the floodplain, and there's flood dampers put in place and it's built to the correct specifications. So there's going to need to be inspections involved. Now, look, I don't know if we're talking about 3 a year or 15, but it's going to require somebody going out and looking at these sites. So in my mind, it would make sense to have a fee associated with the permit. And I don't, the base one, whatever that number might be is the admin part of it. And the second one is if there are field inspections required, it seems appropriate that the people forcing the inspections would be the ones paying for it. I leave that up to you, but ultimately this is going to cost the taxpayers money. When the resolution was passed, they threw out a number of $50,000 to $100,000 a year. That was not me. That was y'all that were here at the time. If that's your choice, and we can have a discussion about it, whether you decide to pursue fees. I yield the floor on this subject. I still have a little bit more.
Question.
Yep.
Mr. Hurt.
Yeah. I remember discussing this back the first flood. I think it was 2010, if I'm correct. we had a whole room full of people that did not want this at all. They were, you know, they want to build in the flood zone. That was their choice to do. And I remember it was very unpopular, but I think eventually we didn't sign into it, and then eventually we was forced into it, if I remember correctly. A few, Ricky, you might remember better than I am, but I think we decided we're not going to do anything to follow through with it because they couldn't really promise us anything, and you know we really didn't want it. So that's what I remember about it. So we just kind of like, well, they forced us into it, but we're not going to pursue hiring a person, buying a car to move them around in. So it was an added expense, and we decided not to do it. Is what I remember. And if anybody remembers any more than that, but I was okay just leave it alone. It's, you know, if people want to build in a flood zone, that's kind of, and also how does this affect people that have property already in a flood zone? Because that's almost all of Waverly here. How's that affect them that they already are in the flood zone?
Okay, so I'll answer the last one first. So this is county outside of municipalities. Waverly City has been a part of the NFIP since the early 80s, I believe. And my understanding is as well is that in 2010, you all did have that discussion, and like you said, they decided that was not what was right for the county. When this came about, this was in 2021 after the big flood, and it was approved. I actually have a copy of the actual resolution with Jesse Wallace's signature and Cindy Wilson as the county clerk, effective September 13, 2021.
Yeah, but I'm saying we didn't. Do y'all remember? We didn't want it, but I think we had to have it or had to sign into it. Everyone had to. Is that what?
It would have been put to you that if you didn't do it, we would not have received any of the FEMA funding for schools,
Does anybody
replacement
remember?
schools.
That's what I remember.
That's what it.
Then we
Was that
would
right?
have got insurance, been able to purchase the federal insurance, or got the FEMA funding for schools and other infrastructure that was damaged.
Right.
And that was
We had
millions
to.
of dollars, or it's gonna be millions of dollars.
Yep.
So we would have been paying for the,
So basically, if we don't do it, we're putting all the money for building the new schools at risk.
Yes, that's gonna go right back into a tax, a big tax increase.
If I'm not mistaken, they let us do this and they retroactively backdated it. Had they not, we wouldn't have been able to get any of this funding.
That's correct.
right,
So let me conclude with this, okay? Before we get too worked up, I've been tracking this for 3 years, and we have had very, very little activity in any kind of floodplains. We've had 0 people try to build a dwelling or residence in a flood zone in the county that we're aware of. We check them. We've been checking them as they come in. There has been some activity. There's 2 or 3 different places where there's people putting fill in a floodplain, and they would be required to permit it. So I don't want to make this a bigger deal than what it really is, but the big deal is, like I said, I know how sensitive everyone is about permits, and you tell me what I can do on my land. And I apologize for that, but this deal was done before I ever took office. We've just not been in compliance with it, and we do risk losing all of our federal funding by not being in compliance. We're not asking you to adopt anything because you already did. I'm warning you that we need to start following it, or we risk losing it. So the choice would be to follow. I'll yield the floor again. Thank you.
Mr. Jerry Hooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bergreva, how is this policed? And I stepped out for a minute. How is this policed other than coming in and showing plans or whatever? Is this something that somebody goes around and says, "Hey, you're putting fill there" or whatever? How is it monitored and policed?
So That's a great question, and I asked the very same question, so you might have missed the part. We
I
have
apologize.
911. Anyone in the county that comes and asks for a 911 address, we're notified with that location. So we can pull up that address and determine whether or not any part of their property is in a floodplain.
So
If-
at that
if-
point, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If it is in the floodplain, we'll send them a letter asking them to come in and show us where they intend to put the building. What hasn't been happening, what we've not done, is had them actually fill out and issue a permit, and that's what we're required to do. Meriwether Lewis also notifies us if somebody comes and applies for new electric service. And the other thing is, they're expecting us, if you see something going on in a floodplain, they're expecting us as a county to, issue the stop work order, figure out who's doing the work, and make sure that they're compliant with NFIP. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I apologize.
No, that's
We
okay.
had a technical issue. I missed some of that, so I apologize for asking that question.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Curtis,
Thank you, Chairman. See, this is what I hate about FEMA. If John Smith is in the middle of his 100-acre farm and he decides to build something and doesn't participate in the FEMA flood insurance and takes that risk and his house gets washed away, well, that should be on him. I understand that we're in the situation, it was retroactive and we had no choice to do it or we were going to be in bad shape. So I get that. Question though I do have is engineering data. Is this something that we're going to have somebody, are we paying this person to do it, or is this going to be like a third party that the property owner or the builder is going to have to, get this person to certify all this?
It would be third party, so the property owner or the home builder would be required to hire their own engineer or surveyor to do elevation certificates.
Okay. So, don't build in a flood zone, I guess. That's the answer.
the city of Waverly, I know several houses, they jacked those houses up and added 2 more block or 3 block, whatever it took to get them out when they redone. So that's kind of what the deal is. I remember we would be out millions of dollars if we hadn't put this in play 4 years ago. So that's the way it was presented to us.
Well, if you look at it, you're talking about $21.5 million for the temporary school and reconstruction, and close to $9 million on bridges and repairs, not to mention all of the other cleanup on top of that. And then we've also got the money obligated for the new schools that we haven't even started. So it's an incredible amount of money.
And just, I don't know if, I remember part of this, the people that are adding dirt into the floodplain, sometimes they make we actually had a lady here the other night. Her place was flooded because a neighbor done something in their field and they were flooding, so that's all gotta be taken into consideration. You can't just go out there and start damming up to a bottom and expect the water to go over on your neighbors and him not complain, so. Any other questions? Oh, John Tittle. I'm sorry, Mr. Tidwell.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. TVA already monitors that, don't they? Doesn't TVA already monitor the floodplain?
So we have floodplain map in between the Corps of Engineers and TVA and FEMA. There are digital mapping, GIS mapping for floodplain. What they don't monitor is when somebody comes in and starts filling in or putting buildings in there or structures.
They do that.
Well, I mean, TVA,
If you
of course,
report to TVA that somebody's building a berm in a floodplain, they will show up at your house.
but TVA is largely related to like the Tennessee River and Kentucky Lake. TVA does not have boundaries along, Blue Creek and Trace Creek and all these other creeks throughout the county.
Thank you. Any other questions on? Okay.
All right,
Mr.
I've
Gribble?
got one little part left here, and it's very appropriate because, well, oh, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, okay, you just now showed up. You want,
I was a little late pushing the button, I apologize. So moving forward, we need some type of business plan to estimate what the fees would be? Something more than the executive summary?
If you all would entertain the idea of applying fees to these permits, our office can come up with a reasonable amount. And I mean, you know, like I said, we're gonna go through a learning curve, and that's why we're doing it out of our office. I don't wanna hire somebody for this if we're just talking about a few incidences a year. We can do it. If it starts getting more than that, we'll have to look at it. But in all fairness, could you put a $50 fee or $25 fee on a permit application? I would say yes. If it required field visits, could you bump that to $250? I would think that would be reasonable for, you know, to perform 2 field visits. So that's something that will be up to you. Personally, I feel like if you're the one that's doing the work on your property that's floodplain related, then that's yours. It's not necessarily on the rest of the taxpayers in the county. That's my way of thinking. Thank you. I'll yield.
thank you. Terry Coleman,
I guess we can assume that other counties are in this same boat. Would it not be wise to see what they're doing and do a little research? See if they're charging fees or how much trouble they're into and how often this subject comes up?
So we've had that conversation with the state of Tennessee, and you know, that sounds reasonable, and yes, we have done that, but Humphreys County is unique with the creeks and the flooding that we have, and it's also unique that we don't have any kind of minimum building standards or any other means for permitting. A lot of the counties that have NFIP standards, it just fits right in because they're already permitting all of the work, and we don't. So that's why it's a new something for Humphreys County. Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Any other questions on the permitting? Ms. McClanahan.
What I was wondering is, well, do we need to do anything tonight? Do we need to move forward then?
The big thing that we need to do starting tonight and going forward is to let everyone know if you're doing something flood zone related, you need to come in and pull a permit from my office, from our office. No matter what, if you're working in a flood zone, you're required to have a permit. That's the message that we need to get out. I would love, you know, using the tools that we have, the mechanisms with 911 and Meriwether Lewis, it's great, but not everybody's getting a new address. Not everybody's building a new electrical service, but everybody's still required to do the permit. So it's going to be an education thing. And I will say this, that yes, there's a lot of other counties and a lot of them are way ahead of us. And some of them are just like us. They understand that, but what's key here is that we have to show that we are making a bona fide attempt at being in compliance with this.
One more.
Thank you.
Ms. Turner.
Okay, so I'm just asking for clarification. It says on here that all structures built in the flood zones must have a floodplain elevation certificate except agricultural buildings. So what does that include?
Agriculture and farming kind of get a free pass out of this, but you would need, what I was told is that they need to show that they at least file a farm K-1, I believe it is, on their income tax, and that they're a bona fide farmer. If there's any kind of living quarters or anything like that, it's no longer applicable.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. McGreevy.
Okay. I almost feel bad about doing this tonight, but I need to say it. So I'm ringing the alarm bell again. Hadn't done it in a while. But in a couple of months, we're going to be starting the budget process again, all over, if you can believe it. Seems like we just finished it and it's already time to start thinking about doing it again. And look, I'm not pessimistic about things. I'm really not. But I do want to strongly caution you about every decision made with taxpayer money, and in particular with new money that's not in the budget or that we're pulling out of fund balances. Humphreys County has a freight train bearing down on it right now. If we're all quiet, we can just about hear it. And you know what that freight train is? It's debt. It's our debt. You know, we went from a county with zero debt to one with millions of debt very quickly. Yes, 5% adds up when we talk about the obligated part that the county has. Not to mention waiting for years to get reimbursements. The schools are waiting on $6 million plus to be reimbursed. The highway department's waiting on over $2 million to be reimbursed. This is going on years, honestly. In fact, you cannot borrow your way out of debt. There's no way that we can borrow money and get out of debt. So we have $33 million in debt to be amortized out at 40 years for the McEwen School. We have received the preliminary numbers on the jail. So the contractor's portion of it came in at $29.3 million currently as it stands. They're still working on value engineering items, but I also know that there's going to be things that were left out that are going to need to be added. So, I mean, realistically, we're over $30 million on the jail. There's a number being tossed out on the new schools, and you know we're all hearing it's this $80 million number. Well, guess what? We're not going to get $80 million. So somewhere there's going to be a difference to be made up, and unless there's some stroke of genius, it's going to be by the taxpayers of the county. The point is, last year when we worked out the budget, we scrambled and we shifted and we discussed moving every one little penny trying to make our budget structurally balanced. And when we thought we were finished, we had just a little bit of money left, and then we had people came back and asked for more, and they got it. And we were down to a minuscule about $36,000 or something that we were to the good when we finished our budget last year. Well, one item, like the special election that we had that was, what, nearly $70,000, this county's in the red. We're spending more money than we're bringing in. And you know from your own experience, your savings accounts that you have at home, how long does it take to build up a nice savings account? If you're spending more than you're bringing in, you're not building a savings account. We have been fortunate over the years to have healthy fund balances, but we're going to put them to good use. You know, we showed on the jail project alone that taking $10 million of fund balance saved $8 million in interest. And we need more of that kind of forward thinking in the future. But if we won't have fund balances if we keep hitting them, in this county, we barely were able to do a structured balance this past year. We're about to start the new budget. So I'm just ringing the alarm bell that every time, I don't care if it's 10,000 or 15 or 20,000, when we give that, if it's not in the budget, I mean, you first have to take from others. So I just want to caution us. We're at the halfway point. We're already working toward next year's budget. Let's please be prudent and ask, is it necessary or is it wanted going forward? And with that, I appreciate your patience, and I yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Judicial Commissioners, applicants, remark. Anybody want to go first? I got 3 here.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, so Mr. Ward, I know, and Dean both have done an excellent job. They've both expressed their interest to continue as judicial commissioners, and we very much appreciate that because there's not really very many people that like getting called out in the middle of the night on a regular basis. So we appreciate what you do, and we're glad that you have offered to come back. Thank you.
Are all three, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I know all of you, but I'm Ward Phillips. I serve now as a judicial commissioner. My term of duty is going to be up at the end of this month. And I would very much appreciate your consideration to see that I get another term. I've been doing this for 4 years. I've enjoyed it very much. I would appreciate continuing to do that. This is an important job. It's not for everybody, I can tell you that. Nobody does like to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, but somebody has to do that. So I would appreciate your consideration for another term. If you have any questions about the job, I know a lot of folks don't really understand what we do. A lot of folks don't want to understand what we do. But if there's a question, or if I can enlighten you in any way, feel free.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
No.
Mr. Duke?
Appreciate your time. My name is Dean Duke. I've been serving as a judicial commissioner now. This is concluding my 3rd year in that position. And I, again, want to petition you to be reappointed for another term. I've completed all my obligated training. I'm certified by all requirements according to what standards we're supposed to meet, so I'm there. And just in case you're wanting to know, over the last year, since I was appointed last time, the 3 commissioners have issued 1,148 warrants. 421 of those were signed by me. We have new instructions going into this particular year by the state legislature that wanted an emphasis no longer on the impact of bond on the suspect or the prisoner, but to emphasize public safety first. This was growing out of concern of repeat offenders, people who were easily being bonded out of jail and going right back and doing the same thing. So with that guideline together, and matter of fact, even more than, we wrote bond in excess of $3.5 million this past year. The state legislature is the ones who set those standards. A lot of that bond, though, grows out of the fact that Tennessee is not allowed to issue a non-bond situation. In other words, we encounter a fugitive warrant, a suspect who is a fugitive from another state. That state is willing to come and pick them up. We have to hold them, but we can't give them a non-bond situation. So we have to crank up the bond to an extremely high amount so that no bonding company would want to touch it. And so a lot of times that kind of inflates our numbers. But overall, we have run very smoothly. Ward has stepped up since the passing of Frank and has done an excellent job of organizing and keeping us on track, and the right person being called in the middle of the night. I like that. But if you'd see in your hearts, I'd appreciate a reappointment. And again, I appreciate your confidence in allowing me to serve in this position.
Thank you, Mr. Duke. Mr. McGreeva?
So Miss Gordon is actually retired. She's currently working, but she has moved, and her husband has taken a position with the McEwen Police Department that kind of puts it at a maybe an ethics thing that comes into play. So she has announced that she's retiring. So we went through the steps and through advertisements, and we have 3 new applicants that would like to speak to you about the position coming forward. And I'll call up Mr. Randall Cloyd first, if you'd like to come up and talk to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGreeva. My name is Randall Cloyd. I don't know a lot of you. You probably don't know me. Some of you do. I'm in District 5. I'm on the Humphreys County Fire Department. I would like consideration in the position as well. I will do my best. I don't know everything, but I will try to do my best at the position if you will give me some consideration. Once again, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cloyd. Next up, Mr. Kenneth Pirtle.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kenneth Pirtle. I live on Main Street here in Waverly. I'm a lifetime resident. Wanting to participate more, so I thought this would be a good opportunity. I'm an animal control officer for the city of Waverly, so I'm a little bit familiar with Fourth Amendment and other procedure, search and seizures, things like that. So I thought this would be a good fit for what I'm already doing. I'm already attending classes and training in these fields, so I'm familiar with this. Love to get to know more of these gentlemen that are currently serving, have been serving, to get a better idea of it. I'm available. I'm single. I live on Main Street. My daughter is out of high school, so we're sitting at home most nights. I get called out by WPD. I get called out by the Sheriff's Department occasionally to help assist with animal control situations, so ringer's always on. So if you have any questions for me, I'll take real quick. All right, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Pirtle. Next, Mr. John McGranahan, and I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did, sir.
Thank you.
County Executive Pagriba, Commissioners. First of all, my name is John McGranahan, and I do like to thank you for the opportunity to come before you for the position of Judicial Commissioner. I am a resident of Humphreys County here in Waverly, about 40 years. My wife was born and raised here. The reason why I have applied for this is because I still want to be involved in the community. I recently retired from the Tennessee Department of Corrections, Probation Parole. Was there probation parole officer for 35 years. Worked both inside the prison system at Turning Center and also out here in the community as a probation parole officer as well as a supervisor. Many of the things that the judicial commissioners have alluded to is things that I have already done in the past. Working in the field, I've worked writing warrants, submitting to judges, testifying in court, with acting as a liaison with the judges, specifically the 23rd Judicial District judges, Judge Robert Mash, Judge Larry Wallace, as well as David. I just slipped my mind. But I have worked with them, but it's also the Assistant Attorney Generals, specifically Joseph Hornick and others. The previous speaker mentioned about public safety. Public safety is always foremost in probation and parole. When I worked as a parole officer, I also did parole warrants, prosecuted those in parole revocation hearings, brought witnesses to the parole revocation hearings and able to get people revoked. I also done many reports for the courts, precincts reports, and two of the most notable cases were the Clybourne case out of Dixon County and the Benjamin Franklin case that involved three vehicular homicide cases here at the Humphreys and Houston County lines a few years ago. So I have experience doing warrants. I have experience meeting with people. I have experience dealing with judges, and I appreciate any consideration that you might give me, and I'm available for any questions that you might want to entertain.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. McGranahan. Mr. Chairman. Y'all, so we'll vote on nominations a week from tonight to select one person we're selecting three, not meaning that to, be presumptuous here, but we'll bring this to you a week from tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Just one that retired. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the second. Thank you. All righty. Citizens petitions and grievances. If y'all indulge me a minute, Mr. McGreeba, fellow commissioners, I've taken very few liberties with being the administrator of this committee, and tonight I'd like to bring up something that has been eating at me for a few weeks now. And I'm not here to bring politics into this meeting at all, and understand both sides of the arguments out there. This government shutdown is causing a lot of hardship across the country, and my focus tonight is the hardship in Humphreys County. Sometimes we don't react to a problem because we're not really focused on the hardship, because it doesn't affect us personally. The liberty I took tonight is to invite some people to come and tell us what goes on normally, week in and week out in Humphreys County, and prior to the shutdown, as far as people eating regularly. The SNAP program in Humphreys County helps 1,844 people, 910 caseloads, and in September of this year, 2025, paid out $390,753 in Humphreys County. Once, years ago, I was a young man. I was deployed to Dhaka, Bangladesh to recover a airline DC-10 that crashed off the end of the runway into a swamp. We were in Bangladesh for 29 weeks. And I tell you, I've seen hunger and I've seen disease firsthand. And I don't want to think about it in our little county. The scriptures tell us to take care of the poor, the widows, the orphans, and the children, and that faith without works is dead. A man told me this week, some people take advantage of the system. And this thought came to me almost instantly. We take advantage of God's blessings and never pass it on, as He's instructed us to do many, many times. So as you listen to the speakers tonight, take note on what you or your church or your business can do to help with food shortages so these things gets worked out. So thank y'all for indulging me. And I call on Miss Barbara Hooper. Please state your name and your organization.
My name is Barbara Hooper, and I'm with the president of St. Vincent de Paul, which is in McEwen at St. Patrick's Church. If I can give these to Mr. Pagreba and pass out, it shows a graph of how much food we give out and how many people and things like that. I thought it would be easier to do that. It's not really homework, guys, but it kind of shows you the total poundage of intake. And what I did was from January until October. And so we did 154,099 pounds of food. And they calculate that as 128,512 meals, because we're a second harvest agent. And with that, they calculate 1.1 pound is how they calculate that we did that many meals. And like Mr. Ricky was saying, you know, the shortage, right now we've noticed an increase in September, October, but there's always a need. Our pantries are, you know, sometimes they're full, sometimes they're not, but we're there to help our neighbors. Currently we have 604 neighbors registered. We've added 45. The total on October should be 159. We are doing a process now which is required to register everyone. So when they come through, we have it down for second harvest exactly how many people, and we're targeting, like, look at your seniors. So over the last week or so, yes, we've had a lot of people come in for food. This is my honest truth, I'm not really stressing too much about it. I think the people are. I think they're afraid they're not going to have food in their pantry. But I think it's going to be fine. I think we will have food come in through, we've had 2 churches that have brought us food. I think there are people out there that will bring food to us to help us with staples. And we do, you know, the mobile pantries, you'll see that in October, and that's where, like in July, we do a mobile pantry. We partner with the lineman school, and that's been a blessing. We go there, they need Second Harvest in St. Vincent de Paul to order the food. They pay for it and disperse it, and we do about 200 families. There are a lot of families in need. We have been doing this since 2006, and we do not discriminate. Yes, we're a Catholic organization, but we help everyone. And basically, we have to go into your home. So if one of you needed help, we go into your home and see exactly what you need. It could be other necessities and basic needs, and we usually take a box of food. Yes, we probably have had people come that didn't really need the food, but they have to answer for that. We do not. My thing at the end was like, relax, because God's in control. And so I feel like things will come to an end, but yes, we could use food, and I just appreciate y'all letting us talk. If anybody has any questions about what St. Vincent de Paul is, I appreciate Mr. Pagriva saying about learning. Tonight I've learned a lot of things, but also you may not know about what St. Vincent de Paul is. There's no paid employees. They're all volunteers. So, does anybody have any questions?
Ms. McClanahan, you have the floor, please.
I wondered about donations. Do you take just monetary donations too?
Yes, we do. You
And
can
you
make
could just-
anything to St. Vincent de Paul, drop it off, or like even Second Harvest, they are the ones that's really, will impact with the food. They have got the charter, the contract for USDA, so that's where our food comes from mostly time, or donations. We run strictly off of donations, and like I said, today I had a church that brought by a lot of staple, canned goods, canned meats, things that they can use, and particularly with a lot of children. That's day to day.
Mr. Malone?
You mentioned partnering with the Lyman School to
Yes,
feed
sir.
200 families, and
Mhm.
you guys ordering the food.
Yes,
What does
sir.
that cost to feed 200 families?
It costs $5,000. The trucks we get are $5,000, and it feeds close to 225 families. And it will be canned goods, it will be produce. Meat, we have to purchase that or get a donor for meat, but it has all your basic stuff, milk, cheeses and stuff like that. But yeah, the Lineman School wanted to do something for their community, so we do that 3 times a year out on Trace Creek. And then we do mobile every second Wednesday at St. Patrick's, and that's perishable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Ms.
All right.
Barbara, if they had food to donate, where would they drop it off at?
You could drop it off at St. Patrick's Church or the school or anywhere like that. That's where our office is at. So yeah, anything will be appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mark Bohannon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the invite. I'm Mark Bohannon, lifelong resident here, and my wife and I, I'm the president of Joseph Storehouse of Hurricane Mills. My wife and I both had a vision and dream from the Lord that we were to start a food pantry, and this is near and dear to my heart, but I'll do my best to get through this because the need is there. And to see the children of this county to struggle, you can talk to a lot of your teachers, they know. A lot of the average person will not see what's going on, but the teachers do. They see the children on a daily basis. But that being said, we opened in April before the flood of 21. Red Cross used our building after the flood to stage items and whatnot. And we went from serving roughly 70 families per month to we did 15,763 people last year alone. This year we're a little over 20,000 in, and our average is about 3.5 people per family, if you can do the math on how many families. They pick up once a month. We have produce, we have meat when it's available, the bread, the milk. We give out basically anything we have in the storehouse at the time. It's a trunk full of stuff for one family that we give out. We're over 1 million pounds distributed, drinks and food, water at this point. In the last 3.5 weeks, we have some organizations that we have really built relationships with and partnered with. We picked up a little over 110,000 pounds of, and Second Harvest, as Barbara and them pick up, we pick up over there every other Tuesday. And then I have other organizations. I picked up 13,000 almost pounds of Idaho potatoes last week. I mean, I picked up 110,000 pounds in the last 3 weeks alone. And a lot of that's going out. We're picking up 15 new sign-ups every Tuesday and Thursday for the last 3 to 5 weeks since all this has been going on. So we're looking at an extra 120 people just by the end of the year per month. So that's another 240 families that on top of what we already have signed up. We do not go by income or as well. We discriminate against no one. If they pull in and they say they need food, they fill out application and we distribute food to them. We do take monetary donations. We take food donations. We're at 538 Barron Hollow Road. We do have Venmo for those that may want to give. A lot of people, we've been gathering up things for the United Way auction that started today. It's incredible the amount of people that want to give but don't know where to give. Right. So Barbara's organization, they do a fabulous job. We've done things together. We help when we can. They've been more than grateful to come and help us when they can. And, you know, all the organizations, we kind of work with the others in the county. So, you know, you can give, you know, we just feel free to call. We have a website. It's Hurricane Mills or it's Joseph Storehouse of Hurricane Mills. There is one in Lebanon. So it's of Hurricane Mills is our website. But we need volunteers. We're open on Tuesday from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We're on Thursday from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and the third Saturday of the month from 10 to 1. And so we do need volunteers as well. Most of our volunteers, as you would think, are older generation because they're retired, and especially in the summertime in our building, we have a 4,800 square foot warehouse out there. It gets extremely hot, and most of ours, you know, the women that we have and some of the men are in their, you know, late 60s, mid 70s. We have one lady that's 82 years old that comes every day that we're open and helps us. But it's extremely hard in the summertime. And these boxes are heavy. I mean, it's produce. We give out watermelons. I mean, it's incredible cart full of stuff that goes in these cars. And so it's a lot of work. We try to minister to them the best we can. Starting the first of the year, we're going to try to start scheduling appointments so we can spend a little more time with the folks to find out their further needs. You know, we don't want to just feed them. We want to minister to them, and we want to find out what other needs they have. Because a lot of them, it's not just food that they need, it's other things. So that's our ultimate goal in the end. But we, like I said, we do appreciate any monetary donations. We're purchasing anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 on top of all the other donations that we get from Second Harvest. Some of the food is free from Second Harvest, some of it we purchase. And our electric bill alone, we've added walk-in freezers in the last 6 months. Our electric bill alone is a little over $1,000 a month. We've had to hire a lady, which Miss Carol doesn't make a lot of money, but she really helps us out because it got to the point my wife could not handle the ordering and keeping things in line, so we had to hire somebody. But she is the only paid employee we have. Everything else has been donated. The trucks, the trailers to pick up the food, everything is donated. No one's getting paid anything for that. So anything that we can get from the community is greatly, greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you all.
Mr. Pagriba.
I just want to thank both y'all for coming in. And, you know, we as a community are so blessed to have people like you and what you do. And I know there's others that are working as well, but what a blessing to live in such a place and have people that are so dedicated and so willing to give of themselves. And we're very fortunate for that, and we just really want to thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. I reached out to a couple of other organizations. Anyone else here that did not get signed up that I'd talk to? Okay, thank you. Mr. Lanham, would, you give us a little, insight on the SNAP benefits at school? And you're up first anyway, I believe, so when you, get up here, we'll. Yeah, well, come on and we'll. Huh? What are we missing? Hmm? That's what we just done. Okay.
Well, thanks for coming. I'll echo what Mr. Pagriba said. It's somewhat, just gives me a lot of hope and joy living in a community to hear people like y'all that run these organizations that provide so much, because I know a lot of that goes to the kids in our community. And as Mr. Bohannon said, when you see those kids and talk to any of the teachers in the school system and you understand the need that the children have, if you can have any empathy for a child that goes hungry, it makes you thankful for what you have. And I tell my kids every night how blessed they are, but there's a lot of kids in our community that are not as blessed, and it's our job as members of this community to do the best we can for children. Just like they talked about how the Lord appointed them to those positions, it gets me thinking about the conversations we have in my office about what's going on with school lunches, and I feel like the Lord's appointed the people involved in this to those positions as well. Basically, several years ago, during Mr. Rice's tenure, they had an opportunity to apply for an opportunity called the Community Eligibility Provision, which allows us to provide free breakfast and lunch to every kid in Humphreys County School System every single day, which is a huge blessing because there's a lot of people that are in that middle of poverty. They make just enough money, they don't qualify for the benefits, but they struggle. And so even as a high school principal, you'd see kids that just didn't have they didn't want to fill out the form and be labeled as free and reduced lunch, or as you get older, there becomes a lot more cognizant ability to understand that you don't have what everybody else has. And so they were shameful to fill out those things to get any benefits. And you'd watch them some days not eat, and you'd try to figure out ways to call them in your office and what could you do to help them. And so being able to provide every kid in the school system free breakfast and lunch every day is just a huge blessing our school system has. We're very thankful for. Because of that, though, we live on reimbursements. So the only way we fund the whole cafeteria budget is the meals we serve. There is no hidden. The county doesn't fund the school. Doesn't fund the cafeteria. The cafeteria is its own operating mechanism. It funds itself based on reimbursements. So because of the government shutdown, we've been told our next month's reimbursement is somewhat in jeopardy. It may be halfway funded. If they have enough rollover funds, they may fund the whole thing, but they can't guarantee us anything. So however, we're told not to worry. When the government reopens, the money will come. This is part of the budget. This money's been appropriated, been approved. So what we're asking for, our school board, I'll have 7 of the best board members you will ever find that put kids first in every decision. We had a special called meeting to make this budget amendment to move $250,000 from our fund balance into the cafeteria fund balance. This isn't new money. This is just moving money from one fund balance to another so that we can continue to provide the cafeteria without any, without having our bills unpaid for 1 month. This is 1 month of bills. We're trying to be fiscally conservative. We didn't ask, $250,000 is a lot of money, but basically we're asking for 1 month operating expenses, you to approve moving from one fund balance to the other. And then if this thing continues on, we will come back and ask for some other, just try to do 1 month at a time and not, do anything outrageous. That's the plan. That's the best I can explain it. If you have questions, I can hopefully answer them.
Any questions for Dr. Lanham? If not, we'll continue on into resolutions. First resolution is yours, an appropriation resolution authorizing account transfers for the general purpose school fund.
Yeah, and that's what I just explained. Moving $250,000 from the general purpose school fund balance to the cafeteria fund balance. It's not new money. It's moving from one to the other because the way the budget works is we can't spend the money for the cafeteria that's in the general school fund balance. So we're moving it from one to the other so we can provide 1 month's operating expenses, show the government should we not receive the money in a timely manner.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Lanham? Entertain a motion. Motion, Mr. Phillips, second, John Hurt. Commissioners, please vote. Thank you. Resolution passes to the full commission. Next, item B, general capital projects budget amendment for $12,129.84. This is a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2025-26 budgets for the proceeds from the sale of land on Victory Lane as part of the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. This is money back from the closing cost. I think there's 4 different ones. The landowner had to pay the county 5% of the cost to demo and all fees associated with the cleanup. Any questions, comments? Anyway, it's $12,129 coming back. Okay. Motion, Terry Coleman, second, Van Malone. Commissioners, please vote. Thank you. Item C, Highway Department Salary Line Budget Amendment, $2,290.50. This is a resolution to amend the salary lines in the fiscal year 2025-26 budget. This was passed last month. The part of the payroll come out and we need to put it back. Is that what? That?
What it is, we forgot to allow for one pay period.
Okay. Any questions? Motion, Mr. Hurt, second, Eddie Rochelle. Commissioners, please vote. Thank you. Item D, Library Technology Grant and Budget Amendment, $3,300. A resolution to enter into a grant contract with the State of Tennessee, Office of the Secretary of State, as well as amend the fiscal year 2025-26 budget. This is a 50% match by the county, and that money is already in their budget for the match. So, any questions? We've got a motion, Kathy McClanahan, second, Justin Curtis. Commissioners, please vote. Thank you. Pass the full commission. Oh, a good one. Waste tar resolution. A resolution to establish a waste tar disposal fee program to ensure compliance with state law, recover costs of tire collection and disposal, and maintain a physically responsible system. Mr. McGreevey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was brought up previously and temporarily tabled until more research could be done, and it's brought back for your consideration. As you all recall, the short version is that the county has received reimbursement on tire disposal from the state of Tennessee in the amount of $13,055.58, but we actually spent $40,477.85 to dispose of these same tires. The Solid Waste Board met and discussed the issue and had different tire retailers that came in and expressed their opinions about it. And at the end of the day, the determination of the Solid Waste Board was that the county would charge the amount of what it costs to dispose of tires, which our going rate is $172.92 a ton, so basically $193 a ton. There has been questions raised that, well, the county receives $1 back from the state, so should we not discount that same amount to the tire retailers. And I have done some math on that, and I will offer that for your consideration, but I'd like to point out that the county employees schedule the deliveries of tires to the landfill. They schedule the trailers with Liberty Tire. They scale in the tires, they record the weights and the counts, they scale out the empty truck, they verify the deposits with the state. They send the weights and the records to our office, and then my office has to reconcile that with Liberty Tire. Solid Waste generates invoices for folks that don't have credit. There are some customers that pay directly, and that funding gets paid to the trustee. But if it's not paid in a timely fashion, then our office sends out collection letters to try to recover that money. The other part at the landfill is that somebody has to be with them every time tires are brought up to make sure they're stacked properly in these trailers. So, there's two ways to look at this. I would not be ashamed to ask for full reimbursement of $173 a ton for waste disposal, and that $13,000 that we recover from the state covers administration costs and handling fees for the county, not to mention all of the other tires that end up at the landfill from one way or another, whether it's tire shops dealing in used tires or customers bringing their tires. That's one option. The other option would be to take that $8,000 fee, the $13,000 fee, and split it in half. The county gets $6,500 for admin fees. We discount the disposal rate to the tire retailers by that same amount. So where the county's paying $173 a ton, if we were to split that fee, we would then be charging the retailers $145.09 a ton. And I would leave that up to you. I'm like I said, I would not be ashamed to ask for the whole amount, because there is a lot of admin and costs associated with dealing with tires. But if you are so inclined to be extremely fair and would decide to split that amount, that would discount the disposal rate down to 145 and change per ton for disposal. I will say this too, in all fairness, the county taxpayers have absorbed this fee for years. So once again, I wouldn't have any shame charging the going rate for tire disposal, but I'll leave that up to you, and I'm happy to do whatever you desire. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Mariva. Any comments? One of the things that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if a store sells a new tire, they pay the state $1.35 for that new tire. If they send in a load of used tires from somewhere, there is no fee collected on those used tires, but you still got 4 old tires that come off a car and they put a set of used tires on. So you got 4 tires that's not getting reimbursed by the state. So I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Pagriva personally that the tire store is going to do, they're going to, they always tax the corporation. Well, that corporation is just going to pass it right back to you. So they'll make it right with themselves, in my opinion. But so that's my stance on it too, that we should charge the disposal fee of $172 a ton. That's my opinion. 173 $173 basically, $172.92. Mr. Malone, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think that, the 40,000 that we spend in fees plus at least 15% to cover all the costs is a bare minimum to recoup, which basically was kind of where Mr. Pagriva was at the floor. So the question is, do we want to go at that as the lowest level of fairness, or up to the full amount to recoup some of the additional costs for the used tires?
comments, proposals, motions? Jerry Hooper.
I'm still haven't gotten a good feeling of where this $27,000 discrepancy is between what we get back from the state and what it's costing us. And I know I'm dense about it apparently, but $27,000, is that coming from used tires that are not being that the retailers are selling? I mean, I have a hard time believing that's a $27,000 worth of used tire business going on that we're having to pay for disposal of.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Grigg.
So when a new tire is sold, whatever county that new tire is sold from, or that commercial business sends $1.35 to the state of Tennessee. The state of Tennessee reimburses the county $1.
Mm-hmm.
But it costs the county over $2 to get rid of that same tire. And then it depends on what kind of tire it is. If it's a truck tire or tractor tire, we pay by the ton. We pay $173 a ton. There's approximately 70, the average car tire, there's about 70 of them per ton, and that varies. It depends on what the actual tire is. The deal is it costs the county over double to get rid of the tires, the amount that we're reimbursed from the state. So what happens is the taxpayers of Humphreys County are investing in private business in the county. Other counties have already acknowledged this and passed their own resolutions correcting this matter. I mean, we've seen counties charging anywhere from $1 to $4 per tire for disposal. So this is not, the average cost on this with the average weight of a tire is that the cost passed on to the consumer would be $10 for a set of 4 tires. It's a minimal expense, but it adds up, and it should be, that burden should fall on the tire retailer and the people that are actually purchasing the tires.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Follow up on that, please. And another question that I have is regarding the 20 tire per household number. What is the general number that, or the average number that you're seeing across the rest of the counties that have instituted this program or are trying to recoup their money? I've looked at several of them, and I don't see a 20 anywhere. I think 20 seems a little high. I understand that what we're trying to prevent is trying to prevent tires from being thrown into thrown into hollows and everything, because they don't want to take them to the landfill. But I feel like 20 is an extreme number per household.
I do not necessarily disagree with that. I know that Benton County has a 20 tire limit for their residences, and I mean, I guess one could argue as well, you and your wife and 2 kids, you have 4 vehicles you're driving. It might be high, but the last thing that we want people to do is start throwing tires in ditches. So if we leave it higher than necessary, we hope that all of the residents bring their tires to the landfill and they don't end up in a ditch somewhere. Thank you.
Mr. Malone, did you have
I was just gonna address Jerry's request about the $27,000.
Yes.
If 70 tires equals a ton, then we're getting a reimbursement of $70 from the state, but paying $173 to dispose of.
Okay.
So, which means that we've got a roughly, 2 to 2.5% ratio of used tires.
Mr. Curtis?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm trying to understand this. All right, so if the tire is purchased, basically if we go up on the cost, the tire is purchased, the dealer is going to increase the cost to cover their amount, and the buyer will be charged. If we do nothing and keep it the way we're operating right now, we're having to pick up the difference, and the taxpayers as a whole, because we're paying for it, are going to have to absorb that cost. Am I understanding that?
You are understanding it, and I'll be real nice and not even talk about who this is, but I have receipts from one tire that I purchased, and I was charged $6.35 for the disposal of that tire. Well, the county got a dollar. They kept $5.35, and the taxpayers paid for the disposal of that same tire. I have another instant. This is this year, me personally. I brought ATV tires in that I purchased online. Well, guess what? I was charged $1.35 disposal fee, but the county taxpayers are paying for the disposal. They didn't, I don't know why they wouldn't send the money into the state. I didn't purchase it from them. So that's just two examples of what can happen with tire. They're already collecting the fees, in my opinion. If they're not, they need to. The last set of tires I bought was $1,800. Do you think I'm going to complain if there's $10? That $10 is baked in. This will be a blip on the radar, and it's the fair and it's the right thing to do to our taxpayers. And I'll yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. McClanahan.
Thank you. I was just wondering, Van, when you mentioned the first thing you spoke about, I was confused of which way you were saying. If you could clear that up for me, what you were saying what you thought would be a good idea, or what, if you could answer that for me.
I think the bare minimum that we should ask for would be the $6,500 split across everything. You know, I don't know that I would really object to asking for all of it to be reimbursed, considering how many used tires there are as well, that we don't get any reimbursement for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What's the will of the body?
Do you need a motion, Mr. Chairman, to request a $6,500 split?
I do need a motion to vote on whatever we're gonna do with this issue, yes, sir.
So that would have to be
And she needs to write it out.
amending this resolution, correct?
Do it now.
That would be meaning that amending this resolution, correct? And I don't know exactly how that needs to be worded, but I would like to make a motion to do the split. However that needs to be worded.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Phillips?
No.
I don't think the taxpayers should pay for anybody's tire disposal. If you buy tires, you pay for it. I don't think that should be anything that the taxpayers should have to deal with.
Tim?
Maybe I'm wrong, but y'all was talking about these used tires. They were bought new once. They already had been paid. This used tire has already been paid for, the disposal paid for.
What county?
Or what state?
Mark?
My understanding, when I had the station up here, I paid the state for every tire, new tire that I purchased and sold. I paid the state whatever the price was. My understanding was if I took, there's a lot of labor in stacking those things up and then carrying them to the landfill, and they have to be, we take 3 guys when I went to stack them in that trailer because they wanted them a certain way. And my understanding was the county was supposed to somehow cross, if I took 200 tires to the county and I only paid the state 150, I owed you guys for 50 more tires. How's that lost and gotten dropped?
I cannot answer that.
That's not been entirely dropped. They still do that, and that's part of the admin costs of trying to keep up with this. It would be much simpler.
I wouldn't think there'd be that much spread if you're picking up the allotted difference from new and used tires that's actually being delivered out there.
The issue is at the landfill, they have no idea if they're bringing used tires up there, if they were purchased in Humphreys County or what county or what state they come from. They're just bringing a load of tires.
I understand, but I filled out a paper every trip I made, and they filled out 236 tires. And I only paid the state that where that you come back and bill X station for 182 tires for the quarter.
They should be billed for the difference from what they show the credits for. That's right.
That has fell back on the taxpayer. I mean, I agree with that 100%. The split is probably gonna get you close. I agree with Jerry, what he's saying. The 100%, I don't think it's fair to roll it back on every tire, because some are keeping a, you know what I'm saying? Some are closer to their number than they're actually taking to the landfill. Some businesses are not. And, you know, that's kind of at fault of the county or someone that didn't keep those numbers to recoup that dollar, to let that get that far out. But I agree with the split, because you've got to pick that up. It's not fair to all taxpayers to pay for somebody's tire replacement.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments?
I don't understand why a guy buys a set of tires, you buy it from the dealer, and it's the dealer's job to get rid of the tires. How does the county get involved in it?
State requires it.
Do what?
State makes you.
County makes you deal with used tires.
State.
Okay.
As far as I know, my brother knew he'd take the first tire to landfill. He had people coming around and got his tires.
Mr. Jerry Hooper, can you, state your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that like Mr. Bergreba had discussed in opening remarks about this, that, I think he said that it was right at $13,000, so half of that is $6,500. I don't know exactly how this needs to be worded, so.
If I could interject, I think the easiest wording, if this is what you all want to vote on, and we decide we want to split these fees, would be to vote or amend the resolution that the county will be charging $145.09 per ton.
Okay, 145.
For tire disposal.
145 what?
09. And that's a 50-50 split.
Is that what you want?
Thank you, yes.
We need to have something in the motion about resetting the rate every year, because Liberty Tire raises theirs. We need to be able to raise ours.
So the way the resolution is written is that this is part of their charge, the going rate. So if we can do that and split the difference on the dollar per tire, we can adjust that accordingly.
Yeah, I think a better way to state the motion would be a discount of $25 per ton off the Liberty Tire freight.
Does that math work for you?
Van, we come up with the same thing, we just do it two different ways, don't we?
Okay.
Well, when Liberty Tire comes back next, around Christmas and decides it's going from 173 to 185, it needs to be $25 off the total, not 145.
But if they increase their rate, let's say they go from 172 to $200 a ton, and we're only discounting, we're discounting how much? $25? Okay.
Rather.
That works.
I mean, if you wanna go the long route, we could say that beginning of each fiscal year, we would calculate the amount we discount by ton as the fee we paid for the previous year in disposal plus 15% minus the reimbursement we received from the state, divided by the total number of tons that we process.
You just lost me, Van.
Mr. Coleman.
I'm not exactly sure of these numbers, but we are providing a 50% cut in this, correct?
50% of what we're collecting.
Yes.
We're
Would
taking
that,
half of what we're collecting.
would that not be the proper way to put that in the motion? And then regardless of if they raise their prices, then ours would go up too, automatically.
But regardless of what what they charge, regardless of what the disposal fee is, we only get $1 a tire.
Yeah, the 13,000
So-
is based on the dollar. not
Right,
what-
it's
It's
that's
reimbursement from the state, it's not what they're paying for, it's not what we're paying per ton for Liberty Tire.
it's splitting the admin fees that we're getting back from the state of Tennessee.
You done, Mr. Coleman? Yes. Mr. Rochelle?
I've sat here tonight and kept my mouth shut. I'm fixing to change. I don't see no need in the county absorbing this cost. Well, just like y'all were saying earlier about the children and stuff, they got $6,500 on the table that we could put in where it belongs. You've got 20 tires that you can take out there at any time in a year, 4 at a time. I'll give somebody $10 to take mine, period. The landfill people have been really good. But if you've never been in the tire business, like Mark and my wife, she did all the work, and I just did the figuring.
I agree with that.
Thank you. And I'll second that. But I think that we just need to pass this on full price. Let the people take care of it themselves. They're the ones that dug the hole. You got a lot of used tires coming out of Indiana, Missouri, all these places. They're bringing trailer truck loads in here. It's a good dumping ground for them. It's not helping us 1 cent. But they come in here with a trailer load and they'll sell them to you, but you got to buy the whole thing. They've got holes in them. Part of them dry rotted. They're shot. So what do? You take them out to the landfill. And then you raise Cain with the people that are out there because you can't dump all of them. You haven't got the right certification on your tire numbers. So if you bought 70 new ones and you take 200 out there, something is wrong. And so we don't need to absorb that cost. The county taxpayers don't need to absorb that cost. We've got other chickens to fry on down the road with our money. So we need to be, like Mr. Pagriba said, we're gonna have to be frugal and we're gonna have to do it right. And that's the easiest way to take care of it, if you put it on everybody to pay their own way. So, with that being said, I'd like to amend Mr. Hooper's motion to charge the full amount.
Got a motion to amend the motion, to charge the full amount? Motion. Huh? You to vote on the amendment first, right?
No, you gotta be on the amendment first.
Vote on the amendment first.
That right, Mike?
Legally, you vote on the second amendment, then the first amendment, so that way you'll have.
That's right, that is the second, right here.
Unless Jerry withdraws his.
So, I haven't got a,
Yes, yes.
I don't know, not getting into all the legal procedure, but I don't know that we even had a second on the
We did
first
not.
amendment, so.
we don't have a second. We got a motion by Mr. Hooper. We got an amendment to the motion by Mr. Rochelle, but we have no seconds on either.
We don't have this on the, voting tablets.
We're not ready yet. You like to what?
So Mr. Rochelle's motion is the original resolution, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That would be correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is it amendment to his, but I don't have a second on Mr. Hooper's.
That's right.
Well, I haven't even put it.
So Eddie's
Do we
is the
need to go
motion.
ahead and process through that then?
Yes.
Okay. I'll put my motion up, but if there's no second, then it fails. I mean, cause if you're waiting for it to
Okay, Mr. Hooper's,
work through the
motion,
process here.
Mr. Hooper's motion is to charge $25 less than current tonnage rate of the $172.92, is that correct?
I believe that's correct, 145.09, I think
splitting-
is what it said, yeah.
That's splitting the,
Splitting it, yeah.
the hair. Do I have a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Is that correct? Mr. Rochelle's amendment to the motion is to charge the full $172.92 at the landfill for whatever tires are brought out there. Do I have a second for it?
Maryland's wanting to talk.
She's wanting to talk.
Do you want to talk, Marilyn? You're,
Okay, you don't mind?
are you making a
Make the
motion?
motion.
Here we go.
Okay, we have a motion to charge the full amount, $172.92, by Mr. Eddie Rochelle, and second by Marilyn Phillips. Any other discussion? Commissioner?
Every time I've ever took tires out to the landfill, that turkey out there tries to charge me $2 a tar. So if it's 70 tires, it would be $140, and it's cost me $170 to put them, to ship them off.
They're gonna be charging you by the ton after we get done here tonight if this
Yeah,
is,
but I mean, they've been charging $2 a tar, what I'm getting at. Y'all hadn't mentioned nothing about that.
That's just on car tires, passenger car tires, they weigh less.
Okay.
And that's where you're getting your other discrepancy at, is when you start getting into 10-ply tires and tractor tires and big truck tires.
Y'all talking about a ton, $170-something a ton.
Mhm.
So 70 tires, car tires, would be $140.
Right,
for-
right.
Y'all mentioned something about the state's giving you 100 of it back or something, but you're already getting 40 extra. And the guy pays it at the gates, well, thank you.
the motion on the board and second is to charge the $172.92 at the landfill by weight. You will weigh those tires in and charge them accordingly, is that correct? Any other discussion? Commissioners, please vote.
You have 13 yes. I'm sorry, you have 11 yes, 2 no.
Thank you. Motion passes to the full commission. Next, we have liquor by the drink referendum. This is a resolution calling for a referendum to be presented to the voters of Humphreys County allowing the sale of liquor by the drink for on-premise consumption in the unincorporated areas of Humphreys County. Sir?
Cities are included.
I'm just reading what the. The council says that the cities are included also. It's countywide.
That's what I understood talking to the day.
Yeah, you gotta go with that.
We got unincorporated on the agenda and, okay. Tennessee Code annotated 57-4-103 provides that the question of whether alcoholic beverages may be sold for consumption on the premises, liquor by the drink, may be submitted to the qualified voters of a county by referendum. And whereas liquor by the drink revenues can be an incentive and catalyst for new business opportunities and can provide significant investments in economic development in the county. And whereas TCA 57-4103A Section 1 provides that a county legislative body, by adoption of the resolution by 2/3 vote, may direct the election commission to submit a question by referendum to the qualified voters as to whether the sale of alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises shall be permitted in Humphreys County. This, resolution would put that on the ballot for the, good people of Humphreys County to make that determination for themselves. Thing to add on?
This is been discussed over recent months, and we were asked to do the homework on it and present it to this body for consideration to get this as a referendum on the ballot. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have a motion, Mr. Eddie Rochelle, second Justin Curtis. I have a request to speak by Marilyn Phillips.
Okay, on our tablet, it says in the unincorporated areas.
Yes,
What
on-
you just read, so which one are we voting on?
So the resolution itself, it's Humphreys County-wide. The agenda where it said unincorporated is incorrect. Honestly, if this passes countywide, it automatically includes the incorporated areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioners, please vote.
You have 13 yes.
Thank you. Okay, item G, water regionalization, a resolution requesting the Tennessee General Assembly to enact a private act to create the Humphreys County Water Resource Authority. Mr. Pagriva.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, we're looking at the long-anticipated resolution to address the issues that we are faced with in expanding, enhancing, and providing better service to the citizens of our county. This resolution is one step of several that will be required in establishing a water authority, and it will help facilitate how we manage water and wastewater across Humphreys County. Today, we have 4 separate utilities serving one region: Humphreys County, Waverly, McEwen, and New Johnsonville. Each operates independently with its own administration, treatment processes, rates, and budgets. The region would probably not consider maintaining 4 separate gas companies or 4 separate electric companies. Likewise, operating multiple small water systems is financially unsound. Why this matters: fragmented systems drive up costs, stretch staff thin, and make long-term compliance and infrastructure planning challenging. A regional model consolidates those efforts under one governing body, giving us strength in numbers, financial leverage, and unified direction. By acting together, we can better maintain our systems, reduce redundant operating expenses, and position Humphreys County for the future infrastructure expansion, which is crucial for economic development. We are pursuing a private act through the Tennessee General Assembly to create the Humphreys County Water Authority. This is a private act that empowers, not mandates, local water utilities to pool resources and plan proactively for the future. Each participating entity retains control of its assets until it chooses to join, but the act establishes a legal and financial framework ready for use when the timing is right. Once passed into law, the act will return to this commission for final review and adoption. The authority's board will include representatives from the county and each municipality to ensure balanced governance and accountability. Other regions have proven this approach works. The Cumberland Plateau Water Authority, formed by private act in 2022, is bringing together 5 utilities across Cumberland and White counties to address aging infrastructure, water loss, and financial instability. With Attorney Don Scholl's guidance, the new authority now operates under a single governance and management structure. Early results include unified rate planning, shared maintenance staff, and coordinated grant applications, which are efficiencies that were impossible under fragmented systems. Oak Lodge Water Source Services consolidated 2 districts, achieving $425,000 to $711,000 in annual savings by eliminating redundancy and streamlining operations. Louisville MSD Water Company, Kentucky, integrated operations and saved $14 to $24 million annually, improving service quality and reducing customer rate pressure. Tennessee Plant Optimization Program, a TDEC-led initiative, demonstrating 1.5 million per year in energy and process savings statewide through coordinated utility performance improvements. The same efficiencies a regional authority can scale. These examples show that regionalization doesn't just cut costs, it strengthens compliance, improves infrastructure reliability, and builds the credit capacity needed to tackle major capital projects. We are not going into this blind. We have met directly with Attorney Don Scholes, General Counsel for the Tennessee Association of Utility Districts, and Executive Director Nick Newman to evaluate the legal and operational structure of a regional authority. Mr. Scholes successfully guided the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority through its private act and implementation. We also held a detailed question and answer session with Jeff Dyer, General Manager of the Cumberland Plateau Water Authority, who walked us and the mayors through the real-world process of system integration, governance, and rate alignment. To support this effort, we will use inflow engineering as part of our CDBG disaster recovery funding grant to perform regionalization studies and operational integration planning covering asset inventories, depreciation schedules, financial modeling, and transition planning. This ensures our decisions are based on data, not on assumptions. At a recent ECD event at the Clement Railroad Museum, the State of Tennessee Comptroller Jason Mumpower was asked, if you could name one thing that kept you up at night, what would that be? His reply, the financial stability of rural municipal water systems. Commissioners, you have an opportunity to secure the future of our county's water infrastructure, protecting ratepayers, improving compliance, and attracting new industry. Regionalization gives us efficiency, resilience, and fairness across jurisdictions. Once the private act is passed, it will return to this body for your formal review and approval. Y'all, we've been meeting on this for months and months, and the conversations between the mayors of the 3 different municipalities, everyone's in agreement that this is the path of the future, that what we're doing now is unsustainable. Y'all, there's so many things in this county that's set up that's decades, if not centuries old, that was set up at a time when you couldn't gallop your horse fast enough from New Johnsonville to McEwen. And I'm serious, I mean that. We have infrastructure that's in place that's still operating under those premises. That is no longer where we are today. And the path forward for Humphreys County, in fairness to all of the ratepayers, would be to establish this water authority. The mayors and the representatives of that board were unanimously in support of doing this. I'll yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Wagner?
Thank you, Mr. Bergreber, for that colorful introduction. I was very surprised to even see this on the agenda. It was just last month that we approved the CDBG grant for the study of this to begin with. This month it's come up to be passed and moved on whenever we don't even have the study. The study hasn't even started. It will probably be 6 months, maybe a year before we ever receive it. I don't know if there's been a legal study done that when you combine 3 municipalities with a county, what steps have to be taken. I'm sure Mr. Bergreber will have an answer for me. And I think you have. Has a cost debt analysis been done? Because we are going to acquire debt, and that freight train you were talking about hearing will get much louder. We will acquire debt whenever we do this.
There already is debt. Are you aware of that, Mr.
Yes,
Wagner?
I am. I'm very aware
So
of
this
it.
is the first step, and we can kick this can down the road for years later if y'all want to keep kicking the can down the road. But the time to act is now. We have all of the mayors on board with it. It's time to do something.
Well-
We're on an unsustainable path. I'll yield, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you. The mayors are on board with the precept, I'm sure. But I would think that their own council, their own commissions would want to hear this and probably pass this as well. Mayor Woods, is that, you're shaking your head yes?
Yes, we're on board with it. The mayor was toward, to getting some study on this. And that's where we stopped at. Once it is the study, then it'll be up to the board to decide if they want it. It'll be up to the city board to decide that.
You may not have heard the point is that they do not opt into this until after all of the studies are done. So this does not affect their rates, does not affect what they have going on now whatsoever. This is step one.
Right, exactly.
They don't opt in until after all of this work has been done.
Correct. But they said that they would rather have their council at least hear everything after the study is done. Now, from what I understood, after the study is done and completed, they have 1 year to sign on. That it would be the legal precept, I believe, is what is left.
That's not true. There's
Okay.
not a time frame of 1 year for them
Okay.
to sign on.
Well,
No,
very
sir.
good. Well, what I read must have been wrong.
Must have.
Must have. I've been approached by several citizens that said they have no desire to be on a municipal water or sewer system out in the county, that they have a sanitary septic system, they have well water, and of course, they don't have to sign on and agree to this, but they also don't want people crossing their properties with it. So, you know, with that, with everything else, there's always maintenance work and things like this that happens. So with that, I will just tell you, I don't believe with what I've heard from the citizens that I could vote for this. But I will leave that with you. And yeah, it will cost more debt. And with a school, 2 schools and a jail facing us now, I don't know that this is the right time to be doing this. Now yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Coleman, I'm sorry.
I'll agree with this is not the right time to do it, because it should have been done about 25 or 30 years ago. You know, you live out in the country, you worry every day if a lightning hits your well, you worry a big rain if get mud in your water. That's a constant worry for a huge percentage of our citizens. If this is a start to getting what we call city water out in the country, like Dixon County has, like Benton County has, then we need to be for it. Houston County has.
Thank you. Miss Ashley.
I just wanted to say, you know, one of the reasons that Don Scholes and the TAUD team who does this all across the state, including Cumberland, Plateau, you know, drinking water is a huge concern. I don't know how many people are out there getting their wells tested, but the water that comes through the municipal systems or a regional system is tested, and we are so antiquated. We have people who cancer rate is high. All of these things tie back to regionalization. We can provide fresh drinking water that is sourced specifically to more residents in the county. Like, I would love to have the municipal water go out to my house in the county. It would be fresh, reliable. I don't have that opportunity unless I want to pay a significant amount of money to get it out there, because I would be the only one on my street. So regionalization is a future. Jason Muntpower with the state comptroller's office, he said, unprompted, what's the thing that keeps you up? So we're not just, this decision isn't just made for the county, it's made for all of the cities. They're gonna have an opportunity to opt in or not opt in, and this is the future of the state of Tennessee and across the United States.
All right, thank you. I've still got discussion going on. Danny Wagner.
Thank you. I was just told today that, and this is the honest truth, if there was money to be made in the water and municipal sewer systems, these cities would be expanding rapidly out into the country. But the cost of it is much more. Now, regionalization, you say, is gonna make it cheaper. But whenever you start adding that many to it and you're compounding it, I don't see how that it's gonna get cheaper when you add more to it. So, you know, it's, people are telling me, I'm gonna have to pay, I could eventually end up paying for water and sewer that I've got free now. So, you know. Is that funny?
It is kind of funny because you don't even make sense, Mr. Wagner. I mean, you go one way at one time and then you go completely opposite. No one's going to be forced to tie into this. If you want to keep using your well and your septic, you can. No one's forced to tie into it.
Exactly.
Mr. Curtis, I'm sorry. Mr. Curtis, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I don't see Mr. Brad. Is he out here? McEwen? No. The reason why I'm asking, I was under the assumption, and I've been told that, because what we've heard is a lot of these counties are not wanting to absorb this in, but Dixon County, in my understanding, is trying to absorb McEwen area at this time, or have requested. Is that? Yeah.
They're way down Old
Okay,
National
so it's
Highway.
happening. So they're willing to take on that cost, and it obviously is making money for them, and they wouldn't be doing that. That's, am I correct on that?
Does it make sense, if we had 4 electric companies in Humphreys County, would you all like that? You'd have 4 different rates, 4 different levels of service. Do we have 4 gas companies?
No.
Does it make sense to have redundant engineers and technicians doing the exact same thing in 4 different places? It just doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Mr.
I'll
Woods.
yield.
I'd like to say, you know, this, myself, Mayor, Brad from McEwen, and, Mayor here, Waverly, we all sat in on this for the last 6 months. And this is the first step to get anything done as far as, getting some engineers and getting everybody together and see what it's gonna cost, see if it's feasible to do. New Johnsonville, we're in good shape on our water. Waverly water ties into ours down there. We got a valve, we're down on the water, we can get water from Waverly right now, so we're not hurting. But overall, we wanna, you know, we gotta start somewhere with a survey and see if it's gonna benefit us. But we're not obligated to tie on to nothing. Same way with the citizens out here in the county. If it's a water line that run past their house and they got a well, they don't have to tie on to it. But if they do have the choice to do that, drill a well now, you know, on new construction, what, $110 a foot usually?
It's just step one to get the ball rolling.
So, I mean, you know, you're looking 10, 15, sometimes $20,000 just to put a well in. And then keep on the pumps and stuff. But this here was brought up, and like somebody said, this all been looked into 20 years ago.
Correct.
20 years from now, most of us probably ain't gonna be here anyway, but our kids will. So, we don't know what the groundwater has to offer us on down the road. You know, this county and some of the other counties, is high cancer rates, so we don't know, you know, if Wales is heading to do that or not. But that's what this study's for, is just get it initiated and see if it's gonna be worth done or not. If it's not worth done, then Johnsonville's not gonna get on to it. You know, so, and our board, I've talked with them, and, they're, you know, they said, yeah, let's see what numbers we got here.
Right.
We got, what, 3 water plants here in the city. If we could combine where you had 1 water plant, sure, let's go to cut costs down.
All right, thank you,
We gotta
Mr. Woods.
start somewhere if they wanna do it, not like Mr. Griever said, we just keep kicking the can down the road. So, you know, we're the mayors, we're gonna sit back and y'all gotta make decisions, send it to the state legislature or not.
All right, thank you. Mr. Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. As he said, this is just the start. And the sooner we get started, the better. And thank you.
Mr. Hooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the resolution, as you all see in front of you, that, once again, I reiterate what everybody's been saying. This is just to get something going. But once the private act is established by the Tennessee State Legislature, then it will come back to us for a 2/3 majority vote. If we like it, you know, I mean, you know, if we don't want to do it, I understand that, but let's make that decision at that point in time where we have, I think that we have the ability to make a more informed decision whenever it comes back to us. And I don't know what kind of time frame that is, Mr. Bergrebo, that would take for that to happen. But I'm all for allowing us to at least look at it, and then we can vote it down later on if we don't like it. I mean, I personally like my well water at home, but you know, once again, we don't have to tie on to the system. I can see what Mr. Wagner did say, though. You know, if this eventually, we're talking years and years and years down the road, you know, having to come across my property or something like that, that's a little bit different situation right there. But anyway, Mr. Bergrebo, my question back to you was, what kind of a time frame are we looking at for the Tennessee State Legislature to establish this private act and come back to us?
So, which brings another good point is that we need to show that we're interested in doing such a thing before we go out and spend $300,000 on engineering and research. So this is to show them that we are definitely serious about doing this, and it gives us the framework to get that ball rolling. The next legislative session with the state starts, is it February, Ashley? So we'd like to get this done and get it in front of them for them to get brought through the state. So then at that time, it'll come back to you all for approval.
Thank you. I yield.
Okay, any other discussion? I have a motion, Terry Coleman, a second, Justin Curtis, to vote on this Water Regionalization Act. Commissioners, please vote.
You have 11 yes, 2 no.
Thank you. Passed the full commission. That's two. We didn't have to have 2/3 tonight, did we? Okay. Reduce speed limit on Stevenson Road. Resolution to reduce speed limit to 30 miles per hour for Stevenson Road. In your packet, you'll find all the, I believe all the landowners that joined that road signed this petition to lower this speed limit, and this is not the first time this one has been up before us, I believe, so. Any discussion? Motion, Terry Coleman, second, Kathy McClanahan. Commissioners, please vote.
You have 13 yes.
Thank you. Passed the full commission. Item H, Juvenile Detention Center contract with Williamson County. Sheriff, this is, Sheriff, Williamson County, we've had this contract before? Yeah. This is a renewal? The renewal with the Juvenile Services of Williamson County to send our juveniles to, should we need them. Any discussion? A motion, Jerry Hooper, second, Van Malone. Commissioners, please vote.
You have 13 yes.
Thank you. Passed the full commission. Next, we have the county holiday list. We normally have 13 holidays. The Juneteenth holiday is added on this one. If you want to keep it at 13, we'll have to do away with one of the other ones, or whatever the will of the body is. Mr. Gribby, you got a recommendation?
You know, for once in my life, I don't. I leave this up to you.
So we can give the county employees 14 holidays, whatever the will